Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Live from the New Scientist Labs, Janine Young, newscientist.com.
Yeah, Janine Young joins us this morning. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning.
From Melbourne City, of course. We're laughing and crying on the show today. First up...
we're a bit snotty too. I apologise for that. I've got a cold.
That's all right. First up, let's have a bit of a laugh.
Well, I do my best every week. I'm not a comedian, but I do what I can. This week we are talking about the science of laughing, what it is and why we do it, and can animals do it, and why is it contagious, and is it good for your health? There's a bunch of different things that we are talking about. So which aspect would you like to talk about first, my friend?
All right, well, first of all, let's talk about why laughing is actually good for you.
Laughing is one of those things that people tend to think is very largely social lubrication. It's very important that we indicate to the people around us the mood that we're in and whether or not the games we might be playing, because originally laughter came out of things like rough and tumble type play. Children can tell each other that this is not actually serious, and they can kind of explore boundaries without, without getting into too much trouble. But it turns out that it is good for your health as well. Researchers have sat people down and given them, excerpts of things like Saturday Night Live to sit and watch. And they've looked at things like their cholesterol and their heart levels, blood pressure and the like. And they've found that they're guessing 20 minutes of really good, solid, hearty laughter. I went and saw an Australian comedian last Thursday night, and I swear that I had a massive workout. They swear that it's around about equivalent to the amount of time that you might do of mild exercise. So, for example, it's shown that after watching a really good hearty laugh, your cholesterol goes down. Your systolic blood pressure, which is the maximum pressure that's going to be exerted when your heart pumps blood, also goes down. It's one of those sorts of things that over time they think will in fact make a difference. The increased production of antibiotics in people goes up. The activity of your natural killer cells, for example, which is a really important part of your immune system. And for women who are breastfeeding, the quality of your breast milk goes up if you've had a good laugh.
Wow.
And that means that you're able to transfer different types of antibodies and the like into your unborn child. And it can fight off skin infections, like the bacteria that cause, eventually, they say, skin infections and allergies and the like. So it's actually good for your health. And you know that your stomach muscles hurt if you've been laughing too hard.
Yeah. So
there's clearly a physical workout there as well.
Indeed, but what actually makes us laugh, Janine?
That does depend on the individual, to be fair. That does depend a little bit on what we find funny. I know my sense of humour is perhaps a little different than most. But invariably, it involves another human. It's not necessarily the presence of a joke. You think that, what are you laughing at? No, aggression intended. It's a joke. Well, yeah, but researchers who looked at 1,200 humans in their native habitat, a shopping mall, found that of the 1,200 or so laughs that they looked at, only 10 or 20% of them were in response to something remotely like a joke. The rest of them was, laughing that was punctuating a conversation. We do this to try and indicate to people what's going on. We can sit and find all sorts of things funny. It could be, and I hate to say this, a small child or a puppy falling over. It could be an actual joke. It could be just a simple, banal comment that someone makes that you find funny, and that then sets them off, because laughter, whether or not we like it, we don't quite know how or why, is contagious. And that means that it is a form of social lubrication. We can let people know what's going on in our heads, as I said before, but it's also a way of binding groups together. If you share a joke together, for example, it can be maybe an in-joke, and that can be a way of showing that you're part of a crowd and someone else isn't. So laughter can actually be not just a social lubricant, but it can also be a divide and conquer kind of thing. Laughter is incredibly powerful. When you think, for example, about the kind of laugh that you let out when you watch your favourite comedian, it's very different from, say, the laugh at the end of Thriller. Pardon me. The malicious kind of laugh that you hear in James Bond movies, Mr. Bond, I'm going to kill you, kind of thing. Laughter can actually tell you a great deal about someone else's state of mind. And so what we laugh at does rather depend on context.
And of course, it's also quite important in not only, as you said, it's social lubricant, but relationship forming as well.
Absolutely. It's also thought that laughing has formed out of sexual selection. Pretty much every Lonely Hearts column that some researchers have looked at, and they did quite specifically, every man was talking about how funny he is, and every woman was saying that they want a man with a sense of humour.
Yeah.
I must admit that it's very true. I couldn't be with anyone who's humourless.
Yeah.
I like making my boyfriend laugh simply because he lets out this belly laugh that means that he wasn't expecting it.
Right.
And it's the most wonderful thing in the world, but invariably he makes me laugh. So I think that's really good because when you laugh, you do get endorphins out of your system. It does make you feel good. It does calm you down. But it's also about bonding. It means that you share the same sorts of things that you find funny. It means that, you can work out whether or not this person is socially healthy. That does make a difference as well. So this emphasis through sexual selection means that although men and women there's no evidence that they laugh different amounts, they do laugh in different ways and for different reasons.
Janine, enough of this laughing nonsense. Let's start crying.
Yes, we're doing Tears of a Clown today, aren't we?
Well, because some people can cry at the tip of a hat, can't they?
Unfortunately, I tend to be one of them. I really wish I wasn't, but I may actually now have an explanation for why this happens. Soppy movies on television, I'm right there. When seriously bad things happen in my life, it's just shocking. But it could be because I don't have enough serotonin in my system. Researchers have been looking at a group of women and they gave them a single dose of something called paroxetine. Now, this is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI. Most people would probably know them as antidepressants. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter. It's very important for being able to get signals across from one nerve cell to another. If you have too little of it around, then you're also prone to depression. Interesting.
Yeah.
But they're thinking now that because they can actually give this paroxetine, and they found that regardless of whether women watched a Weepy, there was a film about a man who had cancer in war and died, if that's not going to set you off, I don't know what will. Or they watched Once Were Warriors, which is not. Big difference. They found that regardless of which women were watching which film, they cried in the same scenes when they were taking this, or didn't cry when they were taking this paroxetine, because increased serotonin means less crying. So it means that if there's more of it slopping about, if you like, you actually have it in between your nerve cells and they're actually able to run these connections a lot better, a lot faster and a lot more reliably, you're not going to cry as much. And I thought to myself, I've got to get myself some serotonin. I've got to get it now.
Where's the best source? It's the sun, isn't it?
I'm actually not sure about where serotonin comes in, but everybody knows that it is responsible for your mood. If you have reasonable levels of serotonin, then your mood is going to be a lot better and you're not going to succumb to depression quite as easily as those who have really low serotonin. But up until now, I don't think they've been looking at whether or not it's related to crying because it doesn't tend to be as debilitating as depression most certainly is. It's just annoying.
Indeed, it
You come
is.
across as being overly emotional.
Well, I feel like I've been on the emotional roller coaster with you this morning, Janine. Thanks for that.
That's all right. Hopefully you'll pop out the other end thinking about the laughing rather than the crying.
Indeed. Well, those stories you'll find in the New Scientist magazine, which comes out next week and, of course, also online as well, newscientist.com.